So we're going to look at the first steps in creating a set of sole trader accounts. So from the home screen, we click on Clients. Now we can search for the client we need using the search facility here. So if we click here, type in what we're looking for, and there we go. So you can see we've got the tabs of Details, Responsibilities, Tax Returns, Accounts, Notes, and Archive and Delete. So for this purpose we're going to click on Accounts. We're then going to click on the button New Set of Accounts, and we then fill in the details that are required here. So we've got name of business, start of period, we're going to say 06/04/15, and that will automatically complete the end of period for us. Now we can use comparative periods as well, as you can see here, but for this purpose I'm going to leave them blank. And we're then going to click on Create. Now we then have the details screen here. So just to confirm, we've got the current period start date and end date. We've got the comparative periods left blank. We've got the business name here, and we've got the option to enter the address and the accountant. The next stage in the process is the trial balance. And we're now going to click on the trial balance tab. So as you can see here, we've got two columns here. We've got current year and comparative. Now, as I said before, I'm going to leave the comparative column blank on this occasion, so the figures that I need to enter will be in the current year column. Now, just to note here, it says enter credits as negative amounts and enter debits as positive amounts. Now, it's very important to remember that, otherwise our trial balance isn't going to equal. So, I'm going to start entering some figures here now. So I'm going to go to Sales, and I'm going to enter minus, because it's a credit, 5,000. So I'm then going to enter a couple of other figures into here. So I'm going to enter purchases as 2,000. I'm going to enter wages and salaries 750. And I'm going to scroll down to sundries. And I'm going to enter 250. So until the trial balance agrees, we'll see in the red box here there are errors in the trial balance. So we need to carry on. In this case, drawings is going to say 2,000, and if I click on Save Changes here, you'll see the red box has disappeared, which means our trial balance now agrees. So the trial balance, the figures for the current year are entered, and this part of the exercise is complete. So we've now got our trial balance and it all agrees, so we can move on to the further tabs. So the next one is Contents. So if we click on that, we've got various options here to do with the contents page of the accounts. So we've got the status of the accounts, which we can change. We've got choices of draft, final, and approved. And we've got the contents to include, which are literally tick boxes, so we can change these as we feel necessary. Some of the fields we can edit, so the cover sheet, for example, if we click on Edit, at the moment the title will be Unaudited Accounts, but that can be changed. We've then got the table of contents, business information, accountant's report, which again we can edit. So we can choose to include the ACCA, ICAW, or an independent accountant's report, or of course we don't have to include any. We've then got the signature page. If we click on Edit there, we've got the name and date signed. Again, these fields can be changed. We've then got the option of whether we want to include the balance sheet or not. And finally, we've got the option whether we want to mark the draft accounts with a watermark. Once we're happy with all those options, we can click on Save Changes and move on. So we're now going to look at the Notes and Policies tabs. So if we click on the Notes one here, now we can see these are the various notes that will be included in the accounts. And we have two here which are clickable links, so we can click through to those to investigate further. So we can choose to include an analysis of the profit and loss account, and the accounting policies, which we will see on the next tab, are completely editable. So if we click on accounting basis, we can change that note here, or we can of course keep it the same. And likewise with the turnover note, we can change the description here, or again we can keep it the same. So we're now going to look at viewing our sole trade accounts. So if we move up to View and we click on it, now here we'll see our accounts in familiar format. So we've got all the necessary pages. We can slowly scroll down and look through the accounts. you'll notice we have the watermark here, which we saw earlier. So we've got all the necessary pages in the correct order, and then got the profit and loss account, got the balance sheet, and we've got the various notes. So as you can see here, at the moment we're looking at it in HTML. We can change that to PDF, and whichever format we're looking at, we do have the option to download the file. So if you have a set of draft accounts that you want to send to your client for approval, you can download them in a PDF format and email them to your client. So once we're happy with our accounts and the client's happy, we can now click on Finalise. So as you can see, it says no errors found, accounts marked as draft. So if the client's now approved them, we can change the status here to approved. We can edit the date of approval. So here we can just edit the signatory name and the date signed. Once we're happy, we can click on Save. And we can then click on Update Tax Return. Now this is if a tax return has not already been created in Taxfiler, which in this case it hasn't. So we're going to say Update Tax Return. And as you can see, it says in red, you must create the tax return before the trade data can be updated. So at the moment, all we've got on Taxfiler is literally the set of accounts for the client. So this process will actually create the SA100 return for the client. So before we do that, you can see here's all the data from the accounts, which it's going to transfer over. So we're going to click on Create Tax Return. And it then asks for the year, in which case this is 2016. It then asks for the type, in this case it's SA100, and we're going to click on Create. So if we then go back to Accounts, there's our accounts that we created just now. So if we click on those, and then if we go back to Finalise, which is where we were before, and we now know the tax return has been created, so we can click on Update Tax Return again. And again, there's all our data that we saw just now, so we can then click on Create Trade, Tax Return Updated. OK. So if we now move back to the home screen, in our recently viewed cases, we'll see Taxfiler has now created our SA100. So if we click on that, and if we click on Data Input, we'll see Taxfiler has brought through our self-employment page with all our details on from our set of accounts. So we can now proceed to enter further pages if we need to in the tax return. So once we've completed all the relevant sections in the tax return, we're happy that the return includes everything that we need to declare. Then what we can do is, first of all, we see the Review and File tab here. If we just click on that first, just to review the return to see if there's anything that needs to be changed or any errors, it will check, and the HMRC validation checks have been completed successfully. So our return's okay, there's no errors in it, and it should be perfectly okay to file with HMRC once it's been authorised by the client. So we also have a tax return tab here, so if we click on that, and we'll then see a very familiar view of the tax return, so we can check through the return here by moving through the pages. We can use the next button, we can use the last to look at the last page, and we can go to first, look at the first page. And we can download this as a PDF copy, which we can either keep on file or we can email to the client for authorization. So once we're happy and once the client has authorized the return, we can click back on the Review and File tab and we can start the process of filing the return. So once we're happy the tax return's completed, we can click on Prepare for Filing. And it then says tax return is locked and waiting for client approval. So at this stage we can download the PDF of the tax return and declaration, and we can download various other documents as well. For now I'll say client has approved this tax return, and we then say tick to confirm client has approved this tax return for filing. So we tick that and we say OK. So then we've got the option to submit the tax return to HMRC. Now just please note here we've got an IR mark. Now that's the unique reference that HMRC generates just to confirm that the tax return has been generated. So once we're happy, we can say submit this tax return to HMRC. And just as a double check, just to make sure that you realise you are doing it, you're finalising the return, you're sending it to HMRC, you just tick one more box, confirm you wish to submit to HMRC, and then send.